What's up, everyone, and welcome back. And today we're going to be treading waist deep into the murky disaster that is Netflix's Thrash. Now, look, I love a good creature feature as much as anybody, but this one is drowning in its own nonsense. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. Well, honestly, you could skip it and save yourself 86 minutes because we're going to bypass the recap and dive straight into the deep end. So grab yourself a drink or a coffee, depending on what time of day it is, and sit back and let's talk about why a movie with a Category 6 hurricane and a army of sharks completely flatlined. Let's get right into the meat of the movie because clearly the quality control was washed away in the first act. Netflix slapped a R rating on this film, and I'm here to tell you that this is probably the most PG-13 R-rated movie in the history of cinema. If you have seen this film, then you can probably attest to the fact that we've seen more dread in the episode of Stranger Things. The kills are totally sanitized. The cursing is at a bare minimum for an R-rated film. And the worst thing that happens in this film is an abusive foster dad gets his head bitten off by a shark. And honestly, we all knew that we were rooting for that to happen to him in the first place. But the character logic is where everything falls apart. You have Dijman Husa, a man who brings gravitas to any situation that he's in, playing Dr. Dale Edwards. He rolls up to a flooded, shark-infested town where there's a literal SWAT truck floating in the water. And what weapon does he decide to grab? A taser of all things. You're going to bring a taser to a shark fight. Really, sir? This had me sitting back like, really? We are hunting a prehistoric eating machine, and we're basically going to bring a glorified bug zapper with us. And there's a lot of logic like that happens in this film. And then we have Dakota, who is paralyzed by panic attacks most of the film. And then all of a sudden at the end, she becomes a sniper, just like Hawkeye. She shoots down a bull shark with perfect aim. And then the movie actually tries to justify this by giving us a flashback to her and her deceased mother when she was much younger, showing her playing with what looks like a Nerf gun. That's basically like me claiming to join the Avengers because I have Canva Pro. It doesn't really add up. And don't let me forget about Lisa, because Lisa is the out-of-towner that we figured out that is in town for work, I guess. And while she's very much pregnant, she decided to commute to work in the middle of a Category 2 hurricane because that's what it started out as. So you're still going to take your pregnant ass to work in a Category 2 hurricane. I'm not sure why you did this, but it doesn't matter because all hell eventually breaks loose and the town floods and she crashes into a tree and she eventually gets saved and all. But there's this scene in the film where she has her baby in a collapsed or in and outside of a collapsed flooded house, and she pushes her baby out and put him on a table, and then she goes full John Wick with a table leg, and it makes no sense to me. This was a clear masterclass in unearned heroics. Now let's break down those open wounds, which are the plot holes and bizarre twists that they try to sneak in on us. First off, how did the sharks get to town, you ask? Well, a meat factory truck gets pushed down the street and it breaks in half on a tree, and all the liquid meat goes into the water and it goes out to the ocean and it attracts the sharks. Just that simple. It's honestly probably one of the laziest MacGuffins you have seen in film in years. But the biggest open wound is that great white shark that Dr. Dale has been tailing this entire film. And I'm not sure what the whole setup for this was because they kept telling us that the great white was pregnant. It was huge. You know, the name of the shark was Nellie. And I thought they were trying to set up this maternal showdown between Nellie and Lisa because they were both pregnant. But what happens at the end of the film in the climax? The great white finally shows up, but not for anything else other than bite one of the bull sharks in half and make a save the day type of play. And then it just swam off. It's almost like a WWE-style run-in, and they got the crowd to pop, and they didn't even stick around to do anything else after they hit their finisher. And speaking of finishers, we have to talk about this phantom subplot, which are the Olsen siblings. These kids spend the entire film isolated from everybody else in the film. They never meet Lisa, Dakota, Dale, or anybody in the film, even though at times it seems like they may be leading it that way. They never meet them. It almost seemed to me like they were trapped in a completely different movie. Like they glued two different movies together because I'm not sure why they were even a part of this film. The only reason I could think of that their characters were put in this film are for the obvious sequel bait, because this movie ends with the harbor master looking at his screen and we see yet another, what looks like to be a Category 5, maybe Category 6 that's not there, heading straight towards the same area. So not only do we have yet another hurricane rolling in behind the first one, all of our people that survived this film are still basically right out in the open still. So what's next? So it was hard for me to kind of look at these characters and care about them or think about anything other than they are just a delivery mechanism for Thrash 2. But I'm honestly not sure what else to say about the film without spoiling even more of it because I've told you quite a bit without telling you everything. So my verdict on this film is if you want to see a tense, flooded creature type film, go rewatch Crawl because Thrash is pure, unadulterated clutter. It is the fast food equivalent of going to a drive-thru and asking for basically a burger plain and then getting everything on this burger in a soggy ass bag that you didn't even ask for. You'll only really consume this film if you don't have anything else to do because if you haven't seen it yet, you'll probably get tricked into it by the pretty good trailer, the notable actor or actresses that they have in this film because you do recognize some of these people. And then after that, you sit down and watch it, you're going to find yourself just like me picking through every single thing that happened in this film and wondering, why is it happening? Why is this happening? This doesn't make sense. Why are they even here? Why didn't they evacuate the town when everybody else did? And yeah, they try to explain some of these things away with the panic attack. So I'm afraid to leave the house, or Dale, who's tracking the great white shark, or Lisa, who's from New York, is in South Carolina for some reason and decided to go to work rather than leaving, knowing that she was almost due. There's just a lot of logic problems with this film. When I walked away from this film, I thought it was a 2.5 out of 5, but the more I sat with it and even talking through it now, I think the highest I could give it is a 2 out of 5. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to you guys in the comments. What do you guys think is going to happen in the sequel? Because we're probably more than likely going to get a sequel because this is a Netflix original that's going to be shown around the world. So it's probably going to get the views that it needs, and we'll see it in Netflix's top 10. So we will probably get a sequel of this more than likely next year. And what do you guys think are going to happen in that sequel? Do you think everyone from this cast returns? I'm not sure why not, because this sequel will have to set up to be happening basically in the same day or a couple of days later at max. So maybe Lisa could get out of town with her baby, but everybody else is probably going to be in the mix with this next storm that's coming up. And what are going to be the obstacles that they throw in with this next storm? Are we going to get some sharks? Are we going to get some gators this time? Is this going to be Netflix's version of Sharknado with better graphics? Who knows? But before I get out of here, I wanted to give a huge shout out to all of you for helping me hit the 500 subscriber goal this past month. And we are pushing for 1,000. And thank you for coming. And I appreciate you all for doing that for me. Please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button because it keeps me coming back with more content like this. Let me know what you guys are watching down in the comments. Please do not forget to let me know what you think about this film, if you've seen it, or if you've even plan on watching it. And with that being said, until the next time, I will see you then, and thank you for coming. Bye.